And the way it read was that Tommy and Chris had just got married. Sorry, girls.
We set? Okay. How does your guitar player vary from Jimmy's? I forgot your
Our
brother's
guitar
name.
player?
Your guitar playing vary from Jimmy's.
Well, I'm me and he was him.
Well.
Basically, there's one similarity. He played everything that he ever heard that excited him. I play everything that I ever heard excited me. And obviously, I do respect him very, very much. He was not only his music, but his life was very much of an influence. More so the good points than the bad. I don't believe that he died because he was a druggie. I believe that he had a little help because he scared too many people. We'll leave it there.
Are you still a student?
If I'm not, I'll quit. If I quit learning, I'll stop. Period.
Okay. For some reason, there seem to be a lot of Texas guitar players. Can you spot a Texas guitar player just by hearing him? Do you know how?
Yeah. There's not a how. It's just you hear it. There's a lot of gut feeling there, and I'm glad to say this may sound funny to a lot of Texas people. I'm glad to see that's spreading out to other places, that influence. Not just throughout the States, but throughout the world. There are people that are really, honestly understanding what's going on and picking up on those feelings and that sound, that influence, and carrying it out.
Have you ever noticed in your travels how everybody in foreign countries thinks that all people from America are from Texas?
Good.
Exactly.
Well, good in a way.
Yeah.
But that was terrible. There is this affinity between, especially Europe and Texas, because a lot of the music that was really studied by during the English blues boom was from Texas. At least as much as what went on in Mississippi, around Memphis, around Chicago. There's a lot that went on. A lot of people moved from the South up there to the other places. Texas and Louisiana is where it really started in the first place. Everybody moved up because there was more chance to make a living of any kind. You know, John Lee Hooker is not from Detroit. You know, these Muddy Waters was not from Chicago. Those are great places. They're great places to keep this music alive. But they moved there from the South.
Let's talk about Lonnie Mack a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Lonnie Mack.
How'd you first meet him? How'd all this come about?
Well, actually, the first record I ever bought myself was a 45. The Wham was the A-side by Lonnie Mack. On Fraternity Records, it was out in '63. I was a little guy about this big. I worked and worked and worked and worked on that record, you know. I learned it right. When I first met Lonnie Mack, I was playing at a place called the Roman, which is where I got engaged, got married. Spent half of that part of my life, at least, probably 3/4 of it. Thank God for C-Boy. We played the second chord of the Wham as Lonnie Mack walked in the door. He just stopped and looked at his friend and said, "I didn't know I was playing tonight." It was great. It worked out real well. We got to sit down and talk. Beaver and Wally were there the same night too. It was quite a night. He walked in, heard us play the Wham. We finished the set, went over and talked to him. He wanted to produce us. His partner, Ed, I forget his last name, I apologize about that. But, they had wanted to produce us. And this was in '79, I guess. Things worked out as things ended up working out where Lonnie moved down to Texas and had gone through some health problems while he was there. He was living in a school bus, his tour bus. Him and his kids and his wife out on Lake Travis. And we got the chance to do a benefit for him and help him with some of the finances of his. He had heart problems for a while, which, by the way, he's doing lots better with. It ended up where Alligator Records contacted me and wanted me to produce or co-produce a record with him. And all it was to me was just a pleasure. You know, it was like an honor. We got to do this record. Had more fun than I've had in years. The only problem with it is that because of the size of the label, it's no fault of theirs, because of the size of the label, they did not have the funds to compete with the big companies, because they can't guarantee shipments. You have to pay for the records that you get first from the company. Or Lonnie's record would have been a smash. Lonnie lives, as a crow flies, probably 20 miles from me. We're very good friends. We see each other as much as possible. He's like somewhere between my daddy, my brother, and my best friend.
That's wonderful.
And that's, yeah. God bless Lonnie Mack.
Good. Good, that's great.
Now, you are going to do a show with him, aren't you? I mean this.
Is this recording?
I hope so.
We're trying. His manager contacted me about a month ago and
Hovey
said,
Camp.
huh?
John?
Yeah, and said, let's start talking about doing a tribute to Lonnie Mack. And we're trying to get it in the works.
You've got my help any way I can.
Okay, it's a deal. We'll try to get this going. You know, last year we did a show that on guitar greats, you know, of great guitar players. We wanted to do something similar this year, and I think it would be kind of nice just to try to, instead of just calling it Guitar Greats 2, trying to work it around Lonnie.
Yeah. And you got to do one for Albert King. You got to do one for
Albert Collins.
Albert Collins. We can get going here.
We can get some great guitar players. I've actually done shows with both of them, done TV shows with both of them, and I agree with you. You know?
There are a lot of guitar players that Cornel Dupree. Mm-hmm. People seem to have maybe forgotten a little bit about him, as well as other musicians like Donny Hathaway. Mm-hmm. They need to be mentioned a lot of places, because that's soul music.
Yeah, yeah.
Soulville. And there's a lot of people can't forget.
Yeah. Well,
we haven't got time to do that right now. All of it. Because I'll go on for all day.
But we'll do it some other time.
Yes.
How's that?
You got it.
I understand you're trying to put together a documentary piece about the blues.
With Buddy Guy.
With Buddy Guy.
Actually, I'm just helping. I've been asked to do what I can do in a thing called How the Blues Gave Birth to Rock with Buddy Guy and Friends. It's a how-to video, basically. And thank God that somebody's looking at Buddy Guy and going, yeah.
Yeah.
The only problem is, not with that particular one, but nobody's done something like that with Hubert Sumlin, who is the driving force behind Howlin' Wolf, who's never, ever had his name on a Howlin' Wolf record. He wrote a lot of those songs. Nobody ever mentioned his name. Hubert Sumlin actually wrote Killing Floor.
Amazing.
Hubert Sumlin is my twin brother.
I actually had Hubert Sumlin on a TV show with Buddy Guy and Junior Wells and Albert King.
Great. Hubert Sumlin is he's like my flip side twin brother. We're exactly the same size, hat size, clothes size. He calls me his little brother.
That's
or
great.
actually, I call him my little brother. This is as a flip flop. Hubert's probably the most original blues guitar player I know. If you think about it, you'll understand why.
Okay.
I mean, who else could play like rubber bands all the time? Hubert's wonderful. I haven't seen him in too long.
Really? How long's it been?
Oh, probably 5-6 months.
Where does Hubert live now?
Well, I thought he had moved to Austin, but he's running around the country somewhere.
You recently said, "I'm glad to see the blues getting the recognition it deserves."
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
I think the world's lucky to know and feel it.
It kind of all started
I
there,
think it's an
didn't it?
honor for the world to know and feel the blues, because it's not the devil's music. It's just, that's what it was called by people who wanted to keep black people down. Thank God for John Hammond. He made us white people know what blues is.
What's it like working with John Hammond?
It's one of the most wonderful things anybody could ever know. He never tries to tell you what to do. He tries to keep the fact that you're caring about your music alive. He likes to let all the musicians always play their own music. He never tries to tell you how to do it. He only tries to make sure that you stay with your own music. That's what a producer should be. Make the musician have a record like he sounds, wants to sound.
Great. Let's talk about some other Texas type things that we're going to be including in this show, and see what you have to say about them. Are you at all knowledgeable about the early history of Texas music? You know, Gene Autry and Bob Wills and that type of sounds. And do you have any sort of thoughts about them?
Yeah, the Texas Playboys used to come over and play 42 with my parents. That's where Jimmy and I got our first influences. I'm serious. It was quite incredible. There was some pretty wild 42 parties. I mean, people. There was. I was very young. I remember being asked to come out, my brother and I come out and play for these people. And we were trying to figure something out. We didn't really know what to do yet. We'd come out and do the best we could. But there were, by the way, my mother's a 42 queen. Are you familiar with 42?
I play a mean game of 42.
You play 84, low boy?
Yep.
Wow, okay.
I play every Christmas when I go home and see my family.
All right. That's where a lot of what we do came from. A guy named Robert Louis Stevenson, if you're familiar with him, from Jacksboro Highway. He and Ray Sharp, Razor Blades. A lot of these bands, they were early influences. Robert Louis Stevenson showed me me and Jimmy, as far as I know, showed us our first boom, 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 bop, bop, rock and roll licks. I'll never forget Jimmy sitting down on Robert Louis Stevenson's drums at his house and learning his first drum things.
Amazing.
You know, there's been, it goes way back. I was about 7 or so. 6, 7, maybe 8. The first picture of Jimmy and I playing was in '62, March the 3rd, '62.
You got a copy of that I can use on the show?
Yes.
Okay. How about Buddy Holly? Is he an influence on you at all?
Yes. From more of a distance. I mean, just by radio and
Excuse me,
I knew
I need to stop. Can you say Buddy Holly was?
Okay.
Okay.
Run it. Oh.
Okay.
I'm doing okay, Charlie? I'm doing all right?
You doing okay, Charlie?
No, I said, am I doing okay, Charlie?
I think you're doing great. You're making me happy
Okay.
and comfortable.
All right. Buddy Holly was definitely an influence, but it was more of it from a distance because when I first heard him, I'd never been to Lubbock. I'd never been around there. It's a strange place to come from. But it seems to work for him, Joe Ely, Jesse, a lot of people. It's not my favorite place to go, but I guess if you came from there, it's got its points.
Do you think that Buddy Holly was a big hero to Texas music fans in general?
Of course, he was probably the first. I hate to go to colors. I hate to go to skin colors because that's something that we've got to eliminate. Not just ignore, but eliminate. You know, but there were periods of time when those things mattered a lot to people. He was the first white person to play the Apollo, and that was a major step for us white folks.
Do you have any feelings about what you think, what direction Buddy Holly's music would have gone in had he lived?
Would have gone on and on.
Okay. What about the Willie Whalen, Jerry Jeff, the outlaw faction? Are you a fan of this type of music? Or?
That music is all wonderful. It's just it's a shame that country music had to outlaw some of its greatest people in the first place because they were not hiding some of the points that their more upper crust wanted to hide. Period.
Okay. We'll turn the page.
Okay.
Do you have any memories of Texas rock and roll in the 60s, of the Bobby Fuller Four, for instance?
The early 60s?
Yeah.
My memories of that were Johnny G and the G-Men, the Glory Tones, Floyd Dackel and the K-Box Combo, Heights Theater, the Gentlemen, the Chessmen, let's see, Sammy Laurie, the Penetrations. We can go on and on. There were some incredible bands. That was, that's the way I remember that part of it.
Okay.
And that was around 63, 64.
Have you ever run into or had any association with Doug Somm?
Of course. He's a walking dictionary. A walking music library, I should say. He's a good friend.
Yeah. Do you have any idea where he is today? No one can find him.
I have no idea. I think he's probably somewhere in Europe.
That's about as definitive as anyone is going to get.
Well, I think he's
Okay.
trying to stay that way.
Yeah, I guess so, because no one knows where he is that I can find.
I can find him.